Here, I will talk about, I will share my experience being an engineer myself, and my journey to currently the entrepreneur of the last 1 year in Canada. I'm hoping that this presentation will be valuable for those of you who would like to start a new company, or who'd like to have some information or some advice on how to create a company, or how to convert oneself into a business owner. I hope some of the information that I will share through this platform will be valuable to you at the end of this. So first of all, I know most of you are physicists here. You can relate, you can replace term engineer by physicist. The information I will share today should be valuable to everyone, irrespective of their background. Most of the things are common, applied in the field. So the engineer, first of all, as myself an engineer, what an engineer does is invent and designs a new circuit, new methods, new build, and solve many technical problems. As an engineer is assigned to a specific job. And on the other hand, as an entrepreneur, his job to run a company, to organize, to operate many businesses. In to run a company, the entrepreneur has to take a much larger financial risk in order to run the business. So that's the difference between an engineer and entrepreneur. These are just a dictionary definition, but there's a more detail I will discuss as we move on to next slide. So again, here quickly, my background has been already introduced by ANPA issue Secretary General. Um, so quickly, to give you my academic background, my academic journey is village in Magdi. I moved to my high school in Kapilvastu district in the southern part of Nepal. Came to Kathmandu to my college, in Amrit Science College. After that, through Nepal, Bangladesh fellowship, went to Dhaka, did my 4 years undergraduate degree. I was very fortunate opportunity to go to Japan through, again, Japan government's Monbu Kagakso fellowship. I spent quite a long time there, around 5 years. Worked with a very senior, Japanese faculty and great team. And then in 2003, I migrated to Canada and joined again the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. So that's my academic journey. In regard to my professional journey, again, my first career began at the University of Victoria in British Columbia. Moved to California, University of California in San Diego. I visited Baylor University for 6 months, just as a visiting scholar. And then the company in Toronto was very interested about the work that I had been carrying out since 2012 until 2018. Specifically that last 6 years. The company CEO approached me and we had some conversation, and I mentioned that in what way I can contribute to the company's ongoing effort of developing a new kind of sensors. So it was not about getting a job, it was about what I could offer to the company. That's how we should think as an engineer, as a physicist. It's not about getting a job, it's about what I can offer to them. In what way my or our role would help the company grow or get into their mission. So that's how I moved to one of the companies in Markham in Ontario, in Toronto, near Toronto, which is Greater Toronto. I work in, it's called James System Incorporated. Uh, and then that job also involved collaboration between York University in Toronto. So I work with a great team at York University, as well as this company premises for the almost for 3 years. Uh, and then I decided to have my own company. I will talk more about this in the next slide. Before we move on to the next slide, um, let's watch this pretty short 30 seconds video that talks about exactly what I do currently in the current position at Seed Nanotech International Incorporated, a company here in Brampton, Ontario.
Hi, I'm Conrad Rizal, an optical engineer and founder of Seed Nanotech International Incorporated. My company develops which have a unique capability to detect up to 100 parts per billion changes the material properties of the sample of interest. This capability is over 100 times higher than any of the existing sensors in the market. These sensors have many potential applications such as the health, environment, and space industries. To know more about visit our company webpage. Thank you.
So this is a video. Most likely the video was interrupted many times due to internet or my computer problem. I'm sorry for that, but you can access this through YouTube. You can access and watch it later. Moving on to next slide. So as I mentioned, as an engineer myself, I decided to switch to entrepreneur field. The question is, how big is it? A big challenge? Is it really big challenge to move from a engineer working for someone and to start own business? So this question, I think, obviously, um, I would consider it was not a big challenge. I was very passionate about making something new, making some new instrument. So initially, but obviously it's a kind of a challenge again. I will talk more about that in the next slides. Being working for a company and for someone and for self, there is a huge difference. It's, I guess, case by case. Sometime it can, but once a person decides to move on to this to move on to, or once the person decides to take a challenge, then it becomes more like a more interesting and more fun than the problem. It becomes more exciting if it is motivated by passion. So again, the second question is how a business is owned and run. Obviously, working for a company, there's a specific job. You work on a specific project. Now, to run a company, it needs multitude of knowledge, multitude of expertise, and I will talk again this in my upcoming next slides. That is the transition fascinating. In the beginning, it's a challenging, but as we keep on working on, if it is motivated by passion, then and it's a fascinating experience. Let's move on to next slide. So I will continue this couple of questions that engineer versus business experience. Is there any overlap? Obviously, as an engineer or as a physicist, we always work on a project. We try to sort problems. We try to break up the work, and we try to work one at a time. As a business owner, this is a slightly different way. The business, you will be you have a lot more than just technical part, right? So there are certain soft there will be overlap, but not like one-to-one, right? Um, in terms of communication again, um, um, as a business owner, obviously, it's not like dealing with only one type of staff. You have to deal with pretty much, um, pretty much, pretty much all type kinds. Like you staff, you are dealing with a business owner, you are dealing with the investor, banking manager, all kind of um, um, pretty much very intensely you are dealing with um, a wide range of people's wide range of job nature. So obviously the communication, the kind of communication, also we are dealing with the clients, and sometimes clients are not happy with the job that we are doing. So obviously the communication, how we communicate the we communicate with the managers, how we communicate with the business partners. There's a slight language of communication, right? As a business owner. Um, so and it's interesting. What is one of the biggest challenge as an engineer? It's interesting that as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest challenge is finding a person, finding an individual who look at the bigger picture. Most of the time, you will meet people who are not looking at the bigger picture. They're always engaged in certain, like daily life. Okay, next week I'm traveling to Arizona. If you talk to other friends, they say I have a family's, a baby shower coming. Oh, my parents are coming from here. And so people are engaged for very very narrow area, even in the workplace. One of the biggest challenge is finding a person who look at the bigger picture, right? So that is one of the challenge. Most of the time you find very very few people who look at the bigger picture, right? uh, um, Let me move on to the next slide. um, in terms of career jump, is it a big career jump from engineer to entrepreneur? um, I would say it is. It depends on case by case. What is the one thing most uncomfortable as an owner over an engineer? So, or as a physicist, as a job holder? As a job holder, one receives salary, right? There's a time to 9 to 5. You have a holiday, you have a vacation pay, you know. But once you become a business owner, there's no such thing, right? So there's no salary, there's no any payment. In my case, for the last 1 year, I have not received a single penny, but I'm still working 7 days a week, almost 7 days a week. So for some people, they're very uncomfortable working for someone, feel more secure. But as a owner, um, you know obviously it's not like immediately salary paid, so this is uncomfortable for some, right? But for me myself, because I'm this company is motivated, the whole work I'm doing is motivated by my passion, so I'm still greatly enjoying without receiving a salary. But I think there are other kind of compensation, other kind of benefits will come as we grow bigger. And also another thing is about, what about if we fail as a business owner? um, One thing about a business owner is that even not, as you can imagine, not all the businesses are successful, right? Many startups fail, and even they fail. The beauty is that, let's say if you are a physicist and you run a company, you are a business owner of a company and you fail. um, you are still a physicist and you have additional experience, and the chances of getting hired is higher for someone who is failed business owner over someone who has just a specific knowledge in physics or engineering. So obviously there's nothing to lose, right? It's always to gain. Okay. So that's the one thing I find. Even from in my own case, the thing that I had been not been able to achieve in the last 5 years, I feel that I achieved that within the last 6 months. So it's a lot of fun to work, but also a lot of risk, a lot of challenges. But because this whole work is motivated by my passion, so I'm still, um, um, working, greatly enjoying this company, this job. Okay, so now this is a small company. As you can imagine, there's no such direct number, small, medium, and big size. But again, these are defined by the employee sizes. Usually in Canada, between 1 to 10 is considered a small business. Between 1 to 50, they can consider medium, and then over 50 employees, big companies. But also, this is small companies are defined by the amount generate revenue the company can generate each. So the benefit of company can see lot of learning, a lot of learning, opportunity to work with the CEO, opportunity to work in a small team, and when the employee someone is accountant is able to work on payroll, able to work on bookkeeping, able to work on some other finance. At that time, the by the CEO or company, but in the company, I don't want you offended by this, but it's not like exactly 100% true. But in the big companies, it's creative thinking. It is called less creative because most of the time in the big companies, the employees have to work on very specific, specific job. Each employee is assigned to a specific job. So that is more like a routine than over, that requires not much less creative thinking. And also sometime in a bigger company, the employee is considered just a number, right? And also it's not easy to get promoted or to, get ahead. So that's the difference between the small and bigger company. Coming back to my own experience, what led to forming this entrepreneur, what led to transition to entrepreneur myself. My total 20 years of experience. It took me 20 years to finally decide, be courageous, and decide to move on to leaving my paid job and move on to this entrepreneur or business work as a business owner. So very briefly, I would like to mention that my first experience in Japanese lab, where they value both team, mostly team setting. I worked. The employees usually, they work lifetime there. Once they are hired, and then when I moved to University British Columbia and University Victoria, they value more team as well as independent work. Like in the UCSD and Baylor University, also independence was more valued, but also we work on a team. In the company I came to Toronto, they had a specific goal to achieve. So we are more focused on developing a new instrument, and then finally at this seed nanotech, where my goal is to grow this company, develop various kind of sensor instruments, and then I have more specific goal. And as a business owner, I have to deal with a multitude of work, which I will mention in the next slide. So right now, let me see, it's 9:38. We started on almost 16, so around 20. How much? Okay. We don't have a lot of time left. This is a 5 minutes video. I think what time we can come back and see. But let me skip this video for now. Let me go back to. So there are a lot of interesting facts. Number one is like engineers or physicists. We don't like to lose. So we always think that what if I had another 1 week time, I would have completed that, or I would need extra 2 weeks, or I would a month or 6 months. Like that's how the engineers or physicists would think. But as an entrepreneur, what happens if one idea doesn't work? We just quickly move on to next. Because if we stay too long in that, then we might be lagging behind. And another interesting thing as an entrepreneur that we have to connect with a client. I mean, how many times, it's not like you have always wonderful relation with the clients. There are times when your clients is not happy. There are times when we are not able to provide exactly what the clients is looking for, and then what happens, the relationships gets worse. But again, coming back, checking back after 3 months, 6 months to them, it seems to be working, that at that time it's possible to reconnect with the clients. Again, other facts, like what about if we fail? I think I briefly mentioned before, what about if you fail as a business owner? What about if you fail as a physicist? What about if you fail as an engineer? Again, I think it's still being in the technical field, we still have a lot of opportunity compared to many colleagues who work in a non-technical field. We have a benefit of having this technical degree. So as I mentioned earlier, as an entrepreneur, even if we fail, there's a chance of more demand for people who have a technical degree as well as who have experience as an entrepreneur. And what happens? I mean, obviously, as I mentioned in the beginning, that running a company, there's a risk, huge financial risk is involved. But what about if you succeed? Then this is rewarding, both financially and also personal. It's always rewarding, right? So there's nothing to lose. If you fail, there's a more demand, obviously, and if you even succeed, then financially also, as well as personal fulfillment, as well as passion, you want to develop something. That way, it gives a lot of satisfaction. So what I do for a living, every day is I'm more like an employee. I know I have an employee for like even though our company started on for last year, July 3rd. It's a fiscal year. We have to file a corporate tax by the end of this month, and the actual business has started from December 2nd. That's when I had 2 employees. Until March 15th, we had 8 employees. Corona, that breakup, we have like 3 employees work online right now, 3 employees coming to my office. So even in the last 6 months, the whole even during this quarter, many companies closed. We had to do work online, but we achieved a lot of things during this time. So from 0 to, we had pretty much total 10 employees in the short time of 6 months. And the funding that I got from Ontario government, federal government, local government, there are always opportunity to grow company, especially if it is innovation based. If it's innovation based, governments always try to provide a salary, fund in the form of salary, provides fund in the fund of purchasing equipment. So that's how I was able to grow in the short time of 6 months. And I feel that it's during the short time, and I never feel like I'm a boss of the company. It never comes like I'm a director or CEO of the company, because there is always an end goal: how to create this instrument, how to develop this, sensor, how to improve it. So and it's like working as a full-time employee. Can people work like that? So I guess if it is motivated by passion, obviously there's always positive side. I'm always happy, even I work 7 days a week. So I don't feel like I'm a boss. But again, as a company's owner, whatever happens in my company, I'm fully responsible, right? And there's as an incorporated company, even we have a small number of company, we're a small business. As an incorporation, we are bound by Canadian Incorporation Act. So we have to pretty much follow all the regulations as followed by big companies. Um, Coming back to my daily routine, again, as I mentioned, there's a risk involved, but sometimes there's a lot of confusions about what is, as an engineer and not having a business background. Obviously, it takes time to learn, and there are times that you are not able to take a business decision because of having highly technical background. But there are supports available here. Even to while my company running, okay, if I'm not earning any money, how I'm running my family, right? Obviously, that's very important. Very luckily, I think I feel very even in the COVID pandemic, I still have a income source that I'm able to feed my family as well as fully focus on my work. During this time, usually we are approached by colleges, universities, different agencies here in Ontario. So we turn co-ops, and there are some volunteers also, but um, and we also provide some service at a small amount of money we generate through providing consulting service. One of the most important thing, as I mentioned above, that as a owner, that every activity is carried out in my company. So, I am the fully responsible for that. So it's the way I have to communicate with the staff, with the business owner, with the business partners, with the bank managers, because you have to talk, you have to keep in touch with them through for funding, right? You need a loan to purchase equipment, with the university faculty members, a lot of for the collaboration. Whatever happens in my company, I am fully responsible, or my co-founder is fully, I mean, directors, especially founders, are fully responsible. So that's how it's always, every action we take here, everything we do here, we try to use as much best practice we can apply. That's And so, as I mentioned earlier, although my background is engineering, I'm a scientist. One of the biggest challenges is I have to manage finance. When you call finance, accounting, bookkeeping, every action, every thing we do here has to be recorded. Let's say if I buy a book folder for the file, that has to be recorded. If you buy some equipment, if you pay salary, you pay cash. Some people want to have a bank transfer, sometimes they want to have a check, and we have to record each and every transaction with the data, because a lot of things that I didn't know before as an engineer, now as a company director, I am familiar with all the employee relation, how the finance is managed. So a lot of work there, right? Even now at this time, I have two account, bookkeeping and payroll, working for my company. Small company, we don't have many transactions. Despite that, I have two part-time right now. They work 5 days a week, but 5 hours a day. Part-time bookkeeper and payroll accountant, because this month we have to file a tax, corporate tax. So we have to make sure that we have all the information recorded correctly. So again, at the end of the day, the scientific part, the sensor development part, is what is very important, and that is what myself involved. And I have recently got one of the business partner who is a faculty member in Buffalo. He was a faculty member at Niagara College. He decided to leave his job and join with me to work as a technical officer, senior technical officer. So hopefully, with this collaboration, we'll be able to achieve more in the scientific development. Hopefully we'll be able to develop this sensor, and prototype, and prototype and sell and market and grow our company. So we are moving into that direction. But at the end of the day, as a business owner, we deal with a multitude, and I'm very excited about this. I'm enjoying this job, uh, um, although it is not paid. I think one has to, once you have a passion to do something, I think this is possible to succeed. Um, Moving on to next slide. We're very almost to end of this presentation. This so what is the takeout from this whole engineer to entrepreneur transition, or owning a business? And also, does one need to become have a either physicist or engineer degree, right? Entrepreneur. So it's not necessary, uh, um, but having one is great. One thing I always found that we're having a lack of this business and finance planning. So obviously having a degree, I guess, MBA degree is beneficial, but it's not necessary. Um, the decision, when it comes to decision, in my case, it's a huge decision. It's a huge decision. I mean, there are most of my colleagues, they very they they very not to decide leave a company job while they are, it is where they get every month all the benefits, all pay, all the benefits, insurance coverage, there's so much, and all of a sudden leave that. You are sitting in a room and there's no salary, there's no benefit, and there's a lot of investment, a lot of work to think about. Business, writing a business plan, working on. So decision. But if you make a decision, and now when one makes a decision, in my case personally, I think I made the biggest decision in my life, and I think I made the right decision to leave that job and start my own company. For some, maybe case different, but in my case, I made the right decision, to form this company, and so far it's moving smoothly. Yeah, again, learning never ends, so every day is learning. We learn technical side, we learn finance, business, accounting, marketing, sales, customer relation, a lot of involved. So learning never ends. I continue writing paper, I continue working with the partners. That's how I move on. And finally, before we move on to question and answer section, I would like to show you this video. So in addition to the company, we also have we are planning to run a conference every year on plasmonics, magnetics, and optics. So first one, we are planning to do that in Nepal, but because the COVID, this pandemic, we decided to postpone for this year, but next year in March, we are going to run the conference in Pokhara. Hopefully by that time, all the international flight will start running. Let me see. Hopefully we can play the video. Okay, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I'll take any questions you have for me.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rizal, for sharing your amazing experience. Please, everyone, you can unmute your microphone and raise your question, or you can type in our chat box.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Sir, it's very nice experience here with us. Thank you so much. But as you mentioned, it is not a kind of easy decision when you have like a regular paying, regular job where you are getting salary, and when everything is going well. Like, so making that kind of decision is not a kind of easy thing. So what made you to decide start your own business?
Okay, thank you so much. That's a great question. I was passionate about opening my company since 2012 when I took my job in Victoria. I always wanted to apply the knowledge that I got during this university. Um, what happened is that at that time I also registered a company, and but I could never succeed. Even I had a second company I registered while I was still working in the previous job. I was still not successful. One thing is a very important thing. One thing I can assure, I can 100% confidently can mention this thing now, that I have many colleagues who have great ideas, who are capable, very capable of opening company. And they have great ideas, great scientific expertise, financially stable. But many of my friends, even I see that still they talk, they they organize meeting, they propose ideas. But then what happens is that if the person is not able to give 100%, if the person is not able to give 100% commitment to that, person is not going to start own company or own business. It is like, when I had a previous company, I think I was putting sometimes 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50% time. It was not enough. And as I kept on exploring more about this business, um, even some people say that even 99.9% is not enough. So it's like someone has to be 100%. Unless we are fully committed to doing this thing, with a risk, there's no guarantee that will it takes time. So once a person is highly committed, that wants to give 100%, then I had a company. I want to do this, I want to do that. I was not doing well. I had this nanobiotech company, nanomaterial one, when I was in Victoria. I also had this consulting. I was not able to give that much time because I had a full-time job in a company. And while I had a strong passion on developing my own company and developing some kind of new instrument or new sensor or new devices, I was not able to succeed. So what happens is that as I work in the last company I worked for almost 3 years, the each of these instrument would cost around 200,000. The competitors are all big companies. GE Healthcare. We have a company in Europe, BioNavis. There's a biosensing instrument in Florida. There are big companies out there, but they have not developed this magneto-optic based sensors. It is a complex. It requires some complex idea: magnetics, optics, and plasmonics. And there was a possibility to grow, possibility to make this instrument, and I could see that there's a huge potential to develop this instrument. And also by the end of this overall 20 years, I also came to learn that in order to succeed in a company, one has to fully dedicate. And also, that's not only thing. Sometimes you are lucky, you find good people. Before I started this job, I had one of the colleague came to my home. All of a suddenly, we start talking about a business. and then someone has to, sometimes we need a good people to talk. So it's a multitude of my own passion, previous failure, and previous experience that if to run a company, to run there's nothing less than 100% is enough. So that's how I decided to have my own company.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Rizal, sir, I have one question.
Sure.
My name is Kiran Shrestha from Arizona. I'm working in semiconductor. So from your entrepreneur experience, when you talk with customer, can you please give some example like how difficult for you to convince them to buy your product?
Okay. Okay, at this time, I mean, our product is not ready, but it's still we have, one of the we have a team like a digital marketer. So we have one staff, senior digital marketing staff. I had no idea before about this, right? In the beginning, how many times, even when I had this education consulting as a part of the job, I know I always wanted to work as a university faculty member. My preparation was never enough, I guess. So I attended number of interviews in the University of Texas. Early, I was the top two can, finally I couldn't make it. University of Alabama in the Center for Integrated College. I got several interviews in Rowan University. Almost 10 in university. I had an interview. I couldn't never make it. I could go all the way to top, but I think I wasn't able to, make it to the end. So I also failed, right? And but because of that, I also had an education consulting business, which I was not given enough time. We had a lot of work. And then when let's say study permit, an offer, study permit, and very happy, right? At any time, the student that visa for some reason, and then they will show all the anger, right? All anger, all of suddenly not happy, right? So there were many cases where although we provided offer letters, we got it through colleges, but they couldn't get a visa because of their own reason, like someone has a low IELTS mark, right? And then what happened is that these people, they get very angry for some reason. So not happy in terms of the product, as specifically you mentioned about semiconductor business and the client. One of the thing is that as a business owner, first of all, if our product, first of all, it's everything about customer. If are we able to meet customers need, what exactly the customer is looking for, and if our product is not able to give that, meet customer needs, it's better not. It's better move on to next customer or next work, because if we are not able to exactly what it's such a competitive world, then it's better not to push that customer, but move on to next. Let me think other scenario where we dealt with a customer, especially I think we try to reach out to them, and then listen to them what exactly they are looking for, and whether we can meet their needs or not. I think depending on that, right? If our product is great, if it really competitive, and if it really helps, I think but follow is great after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, after months. I think that's how we should with client.
Okay. Thank you.
Conrad, sir, we have one questions from in chat box. Let me start from the first one. Like maybe Gimiri sir is asking, did you start your company by yourself only? What is the best size for a teamwork? 2 people, 3 people? Is it best to have partners from different background? Can you please address his concern?
To question, to starting this being a teacher or being an engineer, sometimes we are not familiar with the way this uh, work, like in terms of registration, like sole first one was sole proprietor, and in that everything is the owner is responsible for the company and for the thing. So anytime there's a loss, the owner is responsible, has to pay all the cost through even personal income in the sole proprietor. First, sole proprietor or incorporated business. There's also limited company. I know there's a very simple limited, incorporated, all these terminologies out there, but they're very simple terms for some, I guess, but it was a difficult decision. Business advisor, unless there's someone to advise, it's a difficult decision. Sole proprietor, it was under my own name, and then I take a challenge in business, and I was told first thing to do is to contact a accountant. The accountant would have some information about how to register for sole or incorporated, limited, things like that. My accountant took around 2 months. Even usually it takes 1 week to get. That's what I was told. It took around 2 months to the company. I went to accountant. It was the accountant suggested that I should have my own at that time, because it's much easier, because even you have a 2 employee, every decision we make, the both person has to sign. Both are, if you have a 2 partner, both have equal binding authority. So every decision we make, the both person have to be present. For if the person, but in my case, I wanted because I thought that what about if I make a wrong decision? At least there is someone who can stop me from get emotional. If I lose everything and I make a wrong decision. So at that partner, myself and my wife, that's how I co-founded my co-founder at this time. But we are trying to. I think we don't know exactly in what format the partner will be joining. Either the partner want to have put him or her in a salary. So it was so initial part is to choose whether we would like what kind of company we want to register. So that was my decision, and I tried to have 2 initially, and sometimes it is inconvenient. Let's say you have to pay salary to someone, and both persons have to sign in the check, right? So let's say my wife is not here, Friday, we have to pay check to the employee, and then so this is and there's an AGM. Every year we have. So also choose. So this is the biggest concern for me from the beginning. What about, there are a lot of people, maybe they want to put money, but will they help us, right, to grow, or will they be a problem? Because when you are investing so much time and energy, you want to grow, you have a vision, goal, you are putting, and if the partner has similar interest, similar passion, and for me, I mean, sometimes I wonder myself. I came from a small village in Magdi district from Nepal. University in UK, sorry, in Germany, you see in Chinese company, you see where they are now. You say Japanese, Korean, and then here I am, traveling the world. I'm trying to prove that my theory, my this innovation, I will now I'm that confident based on my experience, based on the so it should be filed today and tomorrow. Lawyer is a little bit lazy every time, it's extending, but he's a great lawyer in the Washington DC patent. Small. Okay. I had like as in my tiny office. We had an office worker, accountant, digital marketer, graphic design, web page developer, and in technical myself. It was very tough for me. And then after the 6 month time, I realized that we don't need to have many people in the office. At least 2 to 3 good people, right? Good working people, who really want to job. So that in terms of team, having a smaller, again, a small company, start company between 1 to 10, one technical person, one business, maybe a web page designer. We need to continue to update our web page. And so at least 4 to 5 people, I think, is a good size of the team initially to begin. But as need arises, we can move on. We can, we right now we out sometime we services outsourcing, some outsourcing India, Bangladesh, in Nepal also, but depends on how reliable company, that's concern. As a business world, there's all any like myself, I transition from highly passionate researcher. Every 2 months we'd publish paper, we went to conference, gave a presentation. But now having a company, we do a similar thing but a very different goal, right? The goal is realistically in the paper in IEEE about it talks only about sensitivity and detection limit. So it's focused solely on application. There's a solid interest on how we can improve our design, how we can improve our sensing configuration, how we can consider noises, instrument noise, how we can reduce that. So it's fully must focus on that. There's an end goal to make this instrument to succeed this business. Yeah. I hope I addressed some of your questions. Is there anything I missed?
We hope so. We have next question from Ganesh Tiwari. He is asking, like, you mentioned only after working in the field for 20 years, you took this decision. Did you retire from your former job before quitting? Good to know that Canadian government is gracious to innovation sector. Can you please address his query?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for the question. As I mentioned, I started this. So this is the 4th company that I am fully, dedicated and putting my 100% time. Company. Before the first one, I was in Victoria, 2012. I registered the company name was Nano Bio Composites. So it's all about nanomaterial and nanocomposite. But I was not able to, succeed. Second one, Seed Nanotech Education. First, Seed Nanotech Consulting. I partnered with some of the companies in Korea. Has authorized dealership in Canada to supply the scientific equipment in Canada. Market is small here. We had several meetings, but again couldn't succeed, right? And then I converted that to Seed Nanotech, and it still active. We still have a lot of the colleges in Canada, but I'm not putting more time in that business. So it's still not very successful. So I failed many times. And also I was trying to hold a faculty position, but I was not successful, right? I work with a great team in California. I work with a great team in Victoria, in the University of British Columbia. Both Lucas Kostelski and Nicholas Ayer, they are the leader in photonics, in Canada and all over the world. Nicholas Ayer, this guy from Germany, my PhD advisor, photonics guy. Lucas Kostelski, my another PhD advisor, very famous in Canada for his photonics work, silicon photonics work. In California, I work with Eric Fullerton, a great world famous scientist, right? And in Victoria, Alexandre Borlo is very known for his nanomaterial research. He's chemistry professor. So I work with a great team, great people, right? But again, I was not able to get that position, the faculty position. I think that solely, I think my preparation was not enough. We might have a lot of experience, but if you are not able to present, even today's presentation, I just even didn't have it to prepare even at once. Before 8 o'clock, I was still preparing these slides. So the lack of preparation, it needs a lot of preparation, at least 10 mock presentation, 15 mock presentation in front of colleagues. One should not hesitate to do those presentation with colleagues. Just practice before going to in front of the committee and rocking it, right? So we have a lot of knowledge. In Canada, as an immigrant, it is told that the immigrant usually they have to put 3 times larger energy compared to local Canadians who are already grown up here and who already went to Canadian education. So we obviously have to put 3 to 4 times more energy and time. But again, it's all about the practice. So a lot of time we're not able. If we are not able to present and efficiently, I think that's when sometimes we fail. So again, it's not retired. I think I have not retired. And also one of the things I want to highlight that the company that I work, the CEO is now 85 years old. He started his company when he was below 50, around 50. 35 years company, now 40 people from 40 different countries, international company, and he's 85 and he's still saying I will survive another 105. So another 30 years, he's still looking eye for 85. So another 20 years. So this guy, 85 years old, he already missed his wife, and he has 2 companies and very successful. It started from two people, and the second person is still, after 35 years, the second person is still working in the same company after 35. So one is CEO, another is employer. Nothing ever late, right? So yeah, to answer the question, I think I'm not retired from my job, but the 20 years total, I started from my Japanese, education, 1998. I started my master degree in 2018 in the company. That 20 years of education, I think by that time, I was fully ready to have my own company, right?
Okay. Thank you, sir. We have another question from Vishwanath Gairi, sir. He's saying thank you for a great talk with wonderful insight. I have a question on how important is to have multiple plans. Like if plan A fails, then move to plan B and so on. What is the main product that you are focusing at the moment?
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Obviously, when I say sensor, a lot of time, people ask what kind of. Initially, I had this, one kind of sensor, magneto-optic surface plasma resonance-based sensor. Obviously, the configuration is now patented. It needed a lot of, simulation, optimization, and then fabricate. So in working in the industry, I have this industry. In terms of fabrication tolerance. So so I think I missed the question. Can you just quickly remind? Are you listening?
Yes, I can read again. Or
Can you
he's
briefly? Can you briefly?
yeah, sure. He's asking how important is to have multiple plans. Like if
Yes,
plan A
yes, that's
fails,
enough.
then move to
Enough.
plan B and so on.
Yes, that's fair. So yeah, so specifically I was into the specific sensor, right? So now, um, after starting in detail, the sensor is a generic sensor. So this sensor can be used for agriculture. It can even could have been used for COVID detection, but we're a little bit behind in doing that. It has the application in the environment. So it has also application for meteorology. Also, as we miniaturize the sensor application in the space industry, obviously. So the having this generic sensor, it's not fixed into one kind of application. So even theoretically, experimentally, we have already demonstrated that this sensor can detect is sensitive almost 100 times, minimum 100 times, 2 orders sensitive than the currently available sensor available in the market. So even if we fail to demonstrate this highly sensitive nature of the sensor, which we may not, I think we'll succeed. We will be able to prototype the currently available sensor in the market. So even if we fail to achieve our end goal, we will still having different plan. Obviously, having couple of plan is good, but we should also not deviate too much. One of the problem myself, I think, was a problem. Even now, you see, I have this company, I have education consulting also there, and I decided to have this international conference running every year on plasmonics, magneto-optics, and magnetics. It's combined optical technologies. When I to business manager, I think that's how um, um, this backup plan. I was like more more excited about, okay, I have a backup plan. We are not generating any income in me for R&D, for the prototype development, but we're also able to make some cash, some extra money through the eventually make money, but eventually after a couple of conference, get more popular, there's a chance of getting some extra cash. Consulting, so the advisor was not happy with that, but related to what we are doing in a company, that was obviously a good choice. So the backup plan, this running a conference is like benefit. Also at the time doing a conference, people will access to our company page. So our company page also incorporated within a company web page. So we wanted to publicize our web page. We wanted to have a more Google search. We want to have more people get to our web page. So that was a small backup plan. But I think having too many backup plan, I think might be detrimental. So even if we want to have a backup plan, we should have a very solid, very clear idea what we're going to do. At least 1 and 2, not bad. But again, the main target, people should give most of the time for main company, main goal. Yeah, that's what I think in my experience. At least 1 or 2 backup plan is not a bad thing, but I think we have to be a little bit careful about how they are related to each other.
Thank you. There is another question. It looks like more technical. Like Ishwari Prazuli is asking, what kind of sensors are you going to bring in the market? How those sensors will be better than existing sensors in market? I think you have already partially answered the question, but still, can you make a short note on that, Dr. Rizal?
Much for the question. So of the sensors in the market, so as you can every day right now in nanotech, right? Nanotech. We'll be very soon moving. Things are getting, even the size of the shoal. The book is 18 nanometer, right? So we are now 10 nanometer scale. We're moving to move even smaller. So even for the diseases, you see a lot of diseases. One of the thing, also the school I was very much into. I wanted to become a doctor, but now after many years, the kind of instrument that I'll be developing will have a direct application to hospital and clinic. So I'm also excited about that. smaller, and there's so many diseases. If you go to a doctor, if you visit a doctor office, I mean, I'm still so disappointed that many of the doctor are based on kind of assumptions. Even there's a certain test results are there, they can accurately predict, but an assumption, those assumptions can have technology, because it's not a fluid, body fluid. When the cancer starts to form in a body, initially blocks in our body, right? But they are not able to detect these foreign cells initially, because the change is extremely, they are even smarter. These cancer cells are much smarter than our white blood cells. But not only that, they are very tiny. The effect is not visible until the disease gets much worse, right? So that means it's highly limited. The medical field is highly limited by the technology, so so the sensor that currently available has already reached the limits. Surface plasma resonance sensor, right? It is also called SPR sensor, has already reached limitation. There's no way to further improve that, use the same sensor without improving to detect diseases or changes, especially it is changing refractive index, right? Material property. So when the changes become 10 to the power minus 7, 10 to the power minus 8 scale, right? And there's no way the SPR sensor can detect those changes. Let's say we have a glass of water, and then if you put, let's say, small amount of sugar in it, and if the change is like, if it changes 10 to the power minus 7 in refractive index, the SPR that change. So as the change becomes smaller, let's say if you want to detect an early stage, if the change is very sensitive sensor. So with the magneto-optic sensor, there is a possibility which we have theoretically, experimentally already demonstrated, that we the signal by minimum 100 times up to 1,000 times. So obviously anytime we are able to amplify the as a merit, right? But it involves magnetic on infrared, near infrared wavelength, and um, and so these all are all invisible, right? So quite complex physics, and anytime it involves magnetic, some of the companies, right? They are a little bit, looking for uh, quicker technology, and they find a little bit challenging, right, to make this. So that is what I'm excited by the challenge, that combining these three physics, and obviously it involves biology, fluidic channel. So it involves physicist, engineer, biologist, a chemist, and computer programmer. Obviously, the challenge that I accepted. So yeah, so these are the fields required, and I see that still there's a merit on having this sensor. And even if we fail to give the 100%, 100 times 2 to 3 order increase in sensitivity, we are still able to prototype and market our sensor, competitive sensor. Hopefully that
Thank you.
answers the question.
There is another question from Tej. He is asking, how are small businesses or SBIR started in most cases? Should they be supported completely with the capital investment from the investors, or should we apply for some kind of funding from the state or federal government right from the beginning? For example, what exactly should we do if we intend to start a business, small businesses, in addition to having an innovative idea? Can you please give like short in terms of in short like answers, please?
Yeah, so start is obviously one investment needed in the beginning. Along the way, there's a lot of money from the local, state government. I noticed that for the innovation, the governments here are very much willing to support, but a little bit of time. And again, you have to write a proposal and submit it. There is a competition out there, and I personally, I know there's a huge possibility to get money from the federal government, but again, this is, as a company owner, we don't want to wait. We don't want to involve a lot of paper application. We want to start make our instrument and test it and prototype. So there are opportunity to get money from the government, but initially the owner should have some capital, um, and locally and provincially, like in our company, we're getting, even I'm not reaching out to them. What is fascinating about it, they are reaching to me. They say, we will provide you salary for the employee for the next 4 to 6 months. Will you give a space? Will you give opportunity, train employee? So this is not a free money. Obviously, we put time, energy. You have to provide them a space, resources, everything. But they are working for us. It's a win-win situation. So the investors should have some money, obviously, and then how much money depends on the nature of the company. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. I think that should enough for initially. Also depends on how much money person invests on rent, how much money for salary. Like myself, I'm not taking any salary from the company at this time, but the dividend, I think if when it starts to make money, obviously there will be dividend, another way to get money. Yeah, so the running a business would be tough, but you can colleagues money from local funding agencies, government, but obviously there will be support from the government, but that requires a little bit of paperwork, and that would be helpful as well.
Okay, we have one more question from Santosh Kesi. He's asking, what is the biggest challenge in establishing a tech startup company?
So one of the challenge before was, as I mentioned in the beginning, is starting a business. Like as I mentioned, a lot of people have these ideas. Every time I meet people, there's no lack of conversation. But the biggest challenge is that first of all, how much the person is self-dedicated, how much the person knows about the technology, especially tech company, right? One should know the competitor, what's going on around the world. Myself, I knew that there's no magneto-optic sensor. There are some magneto-optic sensor, but it's still not like what I have been working on. So I was very confident that there is a huge possibility to grow. So before I even form a company, I did research for like biosensing instrument in Florida. We have one company here in Kitchener. There is a few companies in Germany and Finland. There's already GE Healthcare. So we have to know the competitors. We have to know what's going around us. When I let me tell you, when I was in Las Vegas this is about I think 6 months ago, right? November. I met one of the faculty member from Stanford University. Sang Wang, he's a very popular, known in giant magnetic resonance field. They have made a lot of biosensor using magnetic resonance effect. And when I was able to meet with my own UCSD postdoc advisor Eric Fullerton, with Sang Wang, with other faculty member, with some of the editors, and then when Sang Wang stopped and looked at me, oh, okay, but maybe you might be able to survive, get some some source of salary, feed your family, but I don't know how far you can go, right? And I was smiling at that time. So obviously, I mean, what he was telling is that whatever he thought, right, because it's everybody has their opinion and everybody have their own experience. So yeah, so growing a tech company, is maybe for some very challenging, but myself, because I knew the subject, and if you look back how this Facebook, how this Google, how this all the big company, how this Honda came, all went through the same cycle. The Facebook They went to Google. They don't want to take them. Oh, these four little kids, what are you going to do for us, right? Yahoo didn't take them. And Google started providing all free services. And you see Honda started from garage. So every company started from scratch, right? So I am actually motivated. I have seen that, motivated by that. So once we know what is going around, once we know the story, how the company was built, once we know this that, like I gave you example of the company, my CEO, 85 years old, he's still positive. So there is a challenge, but it all depends on the person, how much one is dedicated, how much one is passionate about, how much one knows what the person is doing. I think that should help one to decide. So in terms of challenge, yeah, we have to take a challenge, right? One has to take a challenge, but one should not take blind challenge, right? Should know something about what's going around us in that particular technology and then move on. And obviously there will be competition. When I was working in one of the company in Kathmandu, I remember I worked on Morang Autoworks. They were the Yamaha dealer. I was on the generator section. The guy from Singapore came to introduce Mobile in Nepal, and the Mobile was 157th product. There were already 156 engine oil available in the market, and he was trying to introduce 157th product in market. He's still confident, right? So I think he's still able to promote that Mobile in Nepal. So that's how it works, right? There will be competition, there will be challenge, there will be other competitor, but I think the person has to know oneself, herself, himself, about the subject matter, about what's going around it, and should have a strong willingness, right, to move ahead. Hopefully this answers some of your questions.
Yes. Any more questions for Dr. Rizal?
May I ask a quick question? I'm Nirmal Kimire.
Sure, go ahead.
So thank you, Dr. Rizal, for such a nice talk. I have a basic science question here. So you said about using the magnetic properties and the optical properties in making the sensors. I kind of might have missed something because I had to leave briefly for the first part of the question answer section. So please forgive me if I repeated this question. So what kind of magnetic states and what kind of application do you want to achieve with this type of magnetic states?
Yes, so there's an interaction. It's a more technical question. Interaction between the electromagnetic wave, right? And then you have metal or semiconductor. Obviously, has an abundance of surface plasmon. Surface plasmon means actually nothing, just a conduction electron. Also, they are known as plasmon, and especially where electrons on the surface or the interface between layers. So that's how they are called, surface plasmons. They are free electrons, conduction electrons. So we have usually the gold and silver. They have abundance of free electrons. And you have a magnetic material. People are using oxides. You are using ferromagnetic material. I know they are a little bit lossy, but at the end of the day, when you are able to amplify signal, that amplification takes over the loss. It compensates the loss. So we are not worried about optical losses shown by magnetic material. In the magnetic material, obviously we have spins, and depending on the orientation of the magnetic field, we are able to control their orientation. And obviously whenever there's an interaction between this magnetic orientation, you have a plasmon electron. They are oscillating. As soon as we impede those free electrons initially, let's say if you take a layer of gold, all the electrons are dancing like they are free electrons, so they are jumping from crystal lattice to crystal lattice. And as soon as we hit them with a specific wavelength, a specific polarized light, these electrons now like just obey the optical electromagnetic wave. Instead of dancing from crystal to crystal, they start to oscillate back and forth between the interface of two layers. So that oscillation creates another electromagnetic field. So there's a lot of things going in. And also when you apply a magnetic field, when you try to orient magnetic field in specific, that spin interaction of electromagnetic field and the orientation, we are able to change the what happens is we call magneto-optic core effect, right? So the core effect interaction of what happens is able to change the polarization or reflected um, by using this magnetic orientation, right? We're able to change the polarization of the reflected light, and we are able to control that angle, rotation, amplitude, and this thing. So by applying magnetic field in different direction, so we have this added advantage in the magneto-optic configuration that we can change the physical property by utilizing magnetic moment.
So
so I think in short,
does that mean that your sensors will be very much similar to the Hall sensor, but it is rather picked up by the optics rather than the electron than the current generated there, or the Hall voltage generated there?
Yeah. So in the Hall, over there you use, I guess, voltage. Compared to Hall sensor, this one we also using optical radiation, right? I think in Hall sensor we're not using, I guess, optical radiation, right? Magnetic field.
This is. It's just a small magnetic field that changes the switches the sign.
So here also the magnetic field, we don't need depending on the kind of material we're using. The magnetic field again doesn't require that much because easily saturate. Even 50 arrestor, 100 arrestor is enough. So instead of using large magnetic coils, we can use a small magnetic coil or magnetic field to control the rotation. The structure is a multi-layered. It can be photonic crystal combined. There is some electromagnetic field is involved. Skin effect is involved. The thickness, we control thickness. So it's a sensor, magnetic sensor. We call magneto-optic because now also optics involved, right? And also in terms of optics, there is only one kind of polarization is used for kind of sensor. We call transfer magnetic polarized light and magnetic field, and certain kind of ferromagnetic and non-magnetic material. So I guess instead of magnetic we have also optics, right? And optics plays a huge role and then what it does is it depending on what kind of material we put on the sensor surface. If it is a gas, we test helium. This can be used to test poisonous gas in certain areas. This can be used to detect the amount of nitrogen in the air. Anything that comes over the surface, that dielectric layer. And anytime we pass optical radiation and interact with the surface plasmas, and that induces electromagnetic field again. And then that induced electromagnetic field interacts with the material that we test, right? It can be gas, it can be liquid. Compared to Hall sensor, right? We are using also optics here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take maybe one last question before we end
one
up
last question from me.
Please go ahead.
All right, thanks, Kunal sir. That's interesting talks, and then you take such a brave path to come over all of your challenges and then just establish a company. It's an iconic example.
Thank you.
So thanks for that, showing all this motivation. So I have a really quick, I think most of the things that I had a curiosity on, so you answered already, but still I want to ask two questions. One is a little technical and one is a little bit about your company. So still you answer most of the part of the questions you answered. So we had just this this discussion about this little technical side of the sensor. So as I see this, as I have, by the way, I have also the background in the plasmonics, and then I also worked with the really pioneers, professors in this plasmonic fields. These plasmonic sensors are really lossy, and then they work very perfectly fine in the lab, but as soon as you go in the outer environment, so the reproducibility of the results really very low chance because of this interaction, all these things involved outside. And then that's why my professor used to say there is a big gap between this, lab work in this plasmonic resonance and then when you go in the applied field. So do you think like that you will able to come over all these challenges of this lossy character of the plasmonics properties?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the question. Obviously, the temperature, right?
The kind of
laser we used before, a temperature to 10 to up to 1,000th degree, right? Length is a variable, and some angle, angle of incidence variable. Yeah, so when you are trying to, develop this sensor, obviously they are very sensitive to the surrounding outside environment. Temperatures, they are very sensitive to temperature. Now, as you mentioned, in a company, in the academic environment, we are limited. I think we got a lot of resources, but despite having that, I think we're not 100% dedicated to that specific work. We have to publish, we have to do this, we have to do that. Even the faculty members are, I know they are very expert. A lot of they have to do administrative job, this job, and there's a family. People, I think that sometimes hinders it. In terms of technicality, reproducibility, right? I mean, the most important, part of any device. We want to, if we want to manufacture, if we want to sell it to customer, obviously, it has to be highly reproducible. Um, in terms of this sensor, right? What it does, that it cancels out like the kind of sensitivity metrics. In 2018, we developed new sensitivity metrics, and it's different from what the sensitive metrics used by other manufacturers or other academics, researcher. The sensitive matrix it cancels out some of the noises. The way the matrix is developed, it first of all allows us to compare one SPR sensor with other SPR sensor or magneto-optical sensor directly one-to-one. Secondly, it allows us to cancel out some of the effect caused by let's say if you add $1 out of 100, and if you add $1 out of 1,000, and I mean if you add the same number in both number, what happens is that if 100, I mean if one is increased by, I mean what I'm telling is that this new sensitive matrix allows us to cancel out some of the effects caused by this variation. But we have not prototyped it. We are still in the bench type. As we develop this sensor, we will face those challenges. But again, there are certain ways to avoid, to practically to um, avoid the effects caused by changes. Those are, I think, in my we try to mention that some of the secrets that no matter how much we talk about this sensor, there is still some of the secrets that we don't expel out. So we obviously have to address those changes. But again, yeah, these are what we're trying to do. We're trying to use that negative seeds. That's the highly sensitive nature of the sensor to make a practical use, right? Isn't it fantastic if this sensor is so sensitive, right? Its variation is so sensitive. So if we can somehow convert that problem into solution, I think that we'll be able to develop this new sensor successfully, and the reproducibility, as you mentioned. So that is a very sensitive to surrounding environment, very sensitive to temperature, very sensitive to material composition, very sensitive to sensor configuration. Obviously, there will be. Yeah. So as we develop this thing, I think we'll try to eliminate those effects. We'll find a way to eliminate those and move on. Yeah, it's not easy. It's challenging, but I think, we have to address.
Yeah, thanks for that. One more really quick question. So I think we are already getting it here. I think companies like you that you started as a startup, many of the CEOs of such companies, they just go around and then try to find a venture capitalist who would able to basically invest on your company by just looking your idea. Even I think some of the time they don't even need to see any products or anything. Idea would be great. So have you tried to do this kind of things, like going around the some of these hot spots of these companies, like I don't know, maybe it's California or some of these other areas?
So to answer questions, I think that's a great question you asked. Obviously, one of the ways to generate income, to generate money through this venture capitalist, we have not done that. I'm kind of very cautious about that. Every time the capitalists, they want to invest money, they want to have certain percent of share. I think that's okay. If you are growing, obviously that's a one way to move on. Another thing is, this kind of technology, right? It really takes some time to succeed. And initially, I was approached by some of the venture capitalists in Toronto, downtown Toronto. We had to sign contract for 15 years. We had to put some equity, and for 15 years you are bound by them, and that's always a little bit concern. As we are scientists, right? We work in a company, we follow rules, regulation. We just a little bit hesitant to sometimes to take a huge risk. So this takes a lot of passion and continuous work. So I have not approached. Obviously, I was told that we can get access to angel investor. Have you heard about that? Angel investors?
Yes.
So angel investor, I was told that they are willing to put money and to raise the company from certain level to certain higher level, right? So I think, and I was a little bit interested into finding an angel investor, but again, it's just a 6 month, and every time I visited with some of the business owners, or business advisor, they would say, "What is your business plan?" So right now we have a 51-page business proposal for the next 5 years. So we have this. I think we have to address, but again, there's a concern, right? How much share they want to have it, how much control they want to have it, and I think this is something maybe we will explore it more if you want to grow. But I'm very cautiously, I'm cautiously weighing all the options out there on the table, and I will see. Because the downtown one in Toronto, they really pushed me hard, but it was very difficult for me. Once they got to know more about us, our company, they were, although we are very small, it's not like huge company, we're working on a very small space, but we have pretty much all the foundation, patent, all the information are on the web page, publications, pretty much out there. And by this year, we'll be submitting our corporate tax. We have a financial statement, balance sheet, pretty much there. Already our foundation very strong. Maybe, with now Corona time, it's not slightly different situation, environment, but we will we will see those options. We will definitely explore those options. And yeah, if you work in that field, if you have any additional information, you can help us.
Yeah,
And
like I see a lot of like I know a couple of other Nepali friends. They also open up some startup. One of them is a professor in West Virginia in some of the universities there, one of the universities, and then they try to go in. For example, if you'd like to just go with a penny raising style of funding source, like they go for crowdfunding. I don't know. That's what sort of like they have in the U.S. here. Maybe probably it should be there too in Canada. Just go. It's just like go in public and ask money, and we're just showing some things that's good from your companies, and then raise some money. It's a kind of crowdfunding. Is that
Crowd, I see.
is that possible to do for you, or I don't know the situation how it works exactly.
No, this is something like there are people who have a lot of money. They are confused where to put money, right?
One of our friends there, he's a professor, but also established a company that I think this time his company should be very valuable because he started producing a mask. That mask is kind of has a nanopores.
Yes, it's mask obviously because the COVID mask project are funded, right?
It was 2 years back established that because he used to work on this nanoporous material, and then he came up with an idea. Okay, he went to Kathmandu. I think he came very early in U.S. from when his family migrated. Went to Kathmandu, and then he thought that okay, so much polluted, and then he thought, okay, why don't I make a mask? Then he started from his research, what he was doing, nanoporous materials. He just put that nanoporous material on the cotton. He produced that in a lab, and then he started producing a mask. And it's very, very, nice mask. And then even I think that's a much better mask than what you find in the markets. And then he started doing crowdfunding that for that. He was able to succeed to raise some money doing just, from like just like get asking money, just people like you and all those those friends and families and all around, reaching all the people all around. That's kind of the sort of things, and also sometimes like emotional or motivation. Some sort of like, for example, if you were doing that sort of company there, and then just being a kind of like a same, let's say, I can have sometimes like a some emotional attachment to. Okay, one of the Nepali friends scientists doing these things, and why don't I just invest like some money on it, or 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 if I have. That's what these Sagoon and all these things, this company they're doing, just going just around the Nepali community and then collecting almost 2 million, more than $2 million. Of course, they have a mini IPO, but one of the things that drive them is just the emotional attachment among the Nepali community.
Yeah, I mean, I always thinking about having some Nepalese community from the school days, and I did a lot of volunteer, and I always wanted to have our Nepalese colleague together. To 3 months when you have at least the first sensor ready. Right now, one of the colleagues is from Niagara. He's a European background from Turkey. As I mentioned in the beginning of I think this is something we can explore. What focus on some technology. We spent most of the time, you'll see, I know that we have now, things have been changed. Many Nepalese community holding a great position, faculty position, company owner, but also I think many of them are more focused on more food sector, restaurant sector, realtor sector. I think now we also have a Nepalese community on IT sector. They are involved into that, I think, successful. But also, what about technology sector? This is something, I thought that not many of our community member, there are obviously things have been changed than what it was 20 years ago or 10 years ago, but still I think not many. So this is where something, having similar mind, similar, positiveness, similar ambition, there's not a lot of money involved here for innovation. We can get money from the venture capitalists, we can get money from the um, from the government. So obviously there is a huge potential to grow, and our technology is the new, and there's always opportunity to improve. I have one of the colleague from Moscow, Russian Quantum Center. He has a slightly different idea that might help even improve our sensor. So this is how obviously collaboration, partnership with the Nepalese community, even in the US, if you're working in that field, if you know someone, I can always try to connect. We can have another conversation. I mean, it's all about how we can grow, how we can successfully develop this company, how we can, develop this new instrument. At the end of the day, we're working day and night just to bring some changes to society. And if you are able society. So I think, if you have anyone know, we can connect again. You can send a link. I'm willing to have a good partner, a business partner in any form they can involve. Initially, I'm not looking for, initially there's not a lot of return, but obviously when the company succeed, there will be, obviously there will be a lot of financial gain, right? So someone who is passionate about developing technology, someone who really want to invest some money or invest the ideas, invest some time, I think we can always collaborate on that. I'm open to that. And regarding getting fund, we are thinking about, but again, at the end of the day, we have to see what is the modality, right? But also, I think one thing you mentioned about the Nepalese community, getting into Nepalese community, I think there is also maybe way to, generate some revenue for the company, and it's good for our community, good for ourselves to grow. Yeah, thank you for all the information you provided today.
Sure, thank you.
All right. Let's thank the speaker for today. Then after that, after this, we can even continue our informal discussion. So let me conclude the session. Thank you, Dr. Rizal, for your inspiring and very important talk. I hope it will be useful for our, community members to start their own, entrepreneurship or something their own. And once again, thank you so much. With this, I would like to conclude the formal session. However, we can continue our informal session. Thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you, Dr. Rizal, for your time and your idea and your time and talk. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Okay, bye for now.